Welcome back to the Ohio MMA podcast. I am your host, David McKinney. Joining me today on today's show once again is professional fighter Chelsea, the Tiny Tank Connor. How you doing, Chelsea?
I am doing great. How are you?
Doing well. It's good to catch up again. I know we chatted before your last fight, your LFA fight back in March, and you had a big victory coming in and getting the decision win. Tell us about that fight, how it went, and getting the win on the big stage.
Yeah, that fight was uh everything that we had planned for it to be. It was perfect. We had a great fight camp going into that fight. Alondria she was a tough chick, so we knew we had to be on our A game. I had an excellent weight cut, which I'm having a really good one for this fight camp. So I'm super pumped. I've finally dialed in and got the weight cut side of things um, down to a science and know what works for me. So which takes a little while to figure out. So I think for that fight against Alandria, it was a lot of what helped me was my weight cut went so well. So I didn't really have to stress. I had the gas tank. We knew she was going to be durable. Um, and yeah, so it was a fun fight. The crowd loved it, and her and I put on a heck of a show. So I was
Yeah.
excited to be able to, yeah, get the win.
Yeah, and you won the first time I ever did Fighter of the Month. So congrats on
Yes.
that. That was
Yeah,
that
thank
that was
you.
yeah. But what's the benefit of coming in? I know you had a full fight camp for that one. I saw you posted. I think it was already a month ago. 6 weeks or so out from your fight. You were starting your fight camp for this, which is a good amount of time. What's the
Yeah.
benefit of having multiple fights back to back, where you're like, I'm getting a full fight camp. I'm not taking fights, late notice, things like that.
Yeah.
How does that help you as a fighter?
Um, it just helps me like be able to lock in and be more focused. It does. I have goals. So right now, I'm not getting any younger. So it's like, hey, it's time to go and get this job done that we're pursuing on it, getting into the UFC. So for me, it just keeps me more focused, doing the back to back, just staying busy. It's crunch time. So it focuses me in a bit more.
Yeah, you're a professional interviewee. That was my next question. I saw you posted, or you've been mentioning, UFC by the end of the year is your goal. Talk me through that. I know you've won a couple of fights in a row. You were on the LFA. You've got another tough fight coming up. What do you think you need to do to make that happen by the end of the year?
Yeah, I think so. I'm on a 3 fight win streak right now. And I think I should be able to pick up this win. After that, I'm hoping to get another LFA win, and then I would imagine my record should be evened up. Early on, I took a few. My pro debut, I got disqualified, and it's marked down as a loss, which wasn't a loss. My second one that I technically lost really wasn't a loss. And then I fought Eleni Pereira and who beat the shit out of me. I actually did lose that fight. So I feel like as a professional, I have one loss on my record. That really is a real loss. But the UFC doesn't see it that way, like there's other losses there. So I think the biggest thing is just get my record cleaned up. And that's what we've been pushing for the last year is really getting that record so it looks good on paper, because I definitely have the experience. I've put in the work. I work harder than anyone else out there. So it's not that I've not worked hard for what's to come. And like I said, I have the experience. I think this win and one more win, the UFC is definitely knocking.
Yeah, you're definitely quickly climbing the ranks to us. You're the number one pound for pound female fighter in Kentucky. You're
Yeah.
climbing the ranks in the Midwest. Is that something that you look at the rankings? I know it's some fighters do, some don't. Some admit that they do. Some say they don't. But I know all
Yeah.
fighters do. But how do you feel about the rankings?
I definitely pay attention to the rankings, but um I remember being an amateur and being ranked number one, and I'm looking and I'm like, these things don't really add up. I think I've honestly I reached out to Tapology because I'm like, hold on, you have like people that I've beat ranked above me, and like, what's going on here? And they said it's all an automated, like it's automatic. No one is actually putting that information in. So I don't put a whole lot of credit into the being number one ranked or anything like that. Like it is what it is. It's a computer's doing it, and they're really not checking. I don't know. I look into it a bit more. So I don't get my feelings hurt or anything. It used to tick me off because I didn't understand like how they ranked it. But now knowing how it is, I'm like, oh, okay. Like I don't want to say it's a joke by no means, but it's kind of silly. So I don't care about the rankings, but it is. I mean, it's cool. Like if you're number one, like fans care about that, and it
Yeah.
sounds cool.
Yeah, people definitely care because when I post the rankings, that's like the
Yeah,
number one post
yeah,
engagement that I get. So I always just post it and I'm like, here it is. Like I don't, it's
yeah,
not my rankings, it's topology, but yeah, it is interesting. I
yeah,
tend to like the rankings just because it gets people talking, right? Like you're like,
yeah.
hey, I'm number one, I want to fight number two, or I'm number two, I want to fight number one, right?
Yes,
Like that's what's fun, right? Like that's
yeah.
what makes it interesting, right?
It
Like
definitely is. And I feel like with the guys, it might be a little bit better with the guys, but like with the girls, we're all grouped together. They don't separate amateurs from pros, which for the guys they don't as well, correct? Am
yeah.
I
In
and
the
then
in the pound for pound, they're it's just everyone, but
yes.
the divisional rankings are it's just pro and amateur.
So, and like with the females, because there's not enough of us, we're all like, all weight classes are
Yeah.
there in unison. So, like, the guys might be a bit more accurate than what the females rankings are, but still, I don't think they're all that accurate, honestly.
Yeah, speaking of rankings and promotions, I saw you just got your blue belt in jiu-jitsu, and
I
I thought that was like
did.
really interesting. And you had a post about it. Like I've been grappling for a long time,
Yeah.
but just started doing gi, which is funny that you're just now a blue belt. But do you feel
Yeah.
like that people like what was the response to that? Were people like, man, I thought you were already like maybe a higher level? Like
Yes.
what was the reaction to that?
Yeah, I think so. Like people close to me that knows like the story behind um my jujitsu, like they were just so like happy for me. It motivated a lot of like my old training partners, some of my coaches even. They're like, "Oh my gosh, like seeing you get that makes me want to do that." So like personally and the people that are real close to me, they were just like so excited and happy for me. Outside, like people that weren't as close, they're like kind of questioning it, like, hold on, why didn't she get this sooner? Like she's won three Naga absolute divisions, like
Yeah.
this is crazy to me. Why isn't she ranked higher? But it really was just finding the right jujitsu program that's going to accept me as the grappler that I am, and understand like I am an MMA fighter, so not all the time can I grapple in the gi, and I understand like the gi grips and everything are very important, and I've definitely learned a lot. But it's for fighting in a cage, I don't have a gi to grab onto. So there was just we have tried to work with other jujitsu programs, but they just did not like my grappling style, because I wasn't there to play jujitsu. I'm there to grapple you and be aggressive. I have a strong wrestling base and a judo base. So basically, it was just finding the right coach, and that's Eddie Morrow with Morrow Jiu Jitsu. It's been just like the absolute perfect fit. I cannot say enough like amazing things about Eddie and his wife Melissa. They've just been incredible. They have another facility up in Salina, and they bring their guys down, which are all very good high level jiu-jitsu guys, and it's just been an amazing connection that we've been able to build.
Yeah, you mentioned people coming back to training and motivating people. I saw you posted a
Uh,
picture with Bob Moore, and I'm like, that's a blast from
yes.
the past. That I remember,
Yes.
you I think he made his debut at UVC back in like 2010 10 or something like that when I first
Yeah.
started calling fights, and that was like one of the first events that I did, which is I'm like, man, that name, that's a name I haven't heard in a while. But then I look at his record, and he fought Matt Comer, who Matt is fighting on
Yes.
the same card as you. But
Yes.
yeah, it's definitely a small world. But
It
let's
is.
talk about the fight. You're the main event. Ego Fight Series 3 goes down in Troy, Ohio. You're fighting Mikey.
Mickey,
Mickey,
I
yeah.
believe is how you say it, I think.
But she's 5-10, which is a lot of fights
Yeah.
as a pro. What do you think about the matchup and getting to fight close to home again?
Oh, fighting close to home. I've never gotten to like actually fight like right in my hometown and stuff. So I'm super pumped about that. That's exciting. As far as the matchup, yeah, she's 5-10. She has 25 fights total. So she definitely has experience. From what I've seen, there's really not a lot of footage out there on her. I think I've found like 3 fights, so I really honestly don't know a whole lot of what I'm getting into. But because we're usually a pretty big game planner, so I like to watch the film. I like to know my reads, what I'm looking for. So I've not been able to do a whole lot of studying on her, which is what it is. At this level, if I can't go in there and get the job done, then, I don't need to be in the UFC like I keep on talking about. So I'm not too concerned about that. I know she does have a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, so it should be fun if it goes to the ground. I'm excited. I keep on telling my coach like, "Hey, so I've already beat 3 purple belts back to back. What's it gonna take?" Which it's all good fun. I'm like, the next one's a brown belt, so like if I beat a brown belt, like, do I get that brown belt? I'm a
Just
brown
yeah,
belt in judo, so
just jump up. Yeah.
but yeah, no, it's all fun. But yeah, I think she'll be um built a lot like me. I think Tapology says she's 4'11", but if you see some matchups on like YouTube, it says she's 5 foot. So I don't know. It might be the same height as me or might be shorter, which is gonna be kind of crazy because I've never fought. I think Allie Beth Milleron is the closest in size that I fought, and I think she still had like an inch on me. I'm always the smaller one. So I'm expecting her to be strong. And that's about it. I'm expecting her to be strong.
Yeah, and on the fight card, you're not the only women's fight, which I thought was
Yeah.
interesting. I know Destiny Page and Faith Nichols, and you train with Destiny, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
Destiny trains at my gym. I've trained with Faith, and yeah, she's a good girl.
yeah. I know she's originally from Pennsylvania, I think, and then she came
Yes.
over to train at Demolition. As you hear
Yes.
my dog barking up the
I know. There's
motorcycle in the
dogs
background.
outside my house too.
But yeah, so she's really tough, and I know she had a couple of big wins as well. That
Yes.
what's it like, being not only the only women's fight on a card, because probably most of the time you are the
Mhm.
only women's fight on the card.
Yeah. Yeah, typically, I'm trying to think. Yeah, typically, since I've been back,
I think
every
Jade fought on the same
yeah,
LFA event as you,
Jade
right?
and Diamond actually fought on the same card that I did, and then the card that I fought, um, in August, the Renegade Rumble, Destiny actually fought on that card as well. So and then this past fight for LFA, there was another female fight. Oh, and I just spaced on her name. She's so awesome. Love her to death. She's actually fighting for LFA again, and I would give her a shout out if I remembered her name right now. But
Nira bet,
nonetheless, yeah.
right? Is that
um
you're talking about Nira?
Nira, yes, yes,
Yeah.
Nira, yes. So since I've been like back to competing, there's been other girl fights, but yeah, back in the day there was never. I was the only girl fight on the card. So it's the evolution of girls actually getting into this and being staples, and it's definitely like it warms my heart for sure. It's really awesome.
Yeah, and you fought twice on LFA, and both times were in Kentucky. We got to
Yes.
get them to do a show in Ohio. There's so many fighters that both events had a bunch of Ohio fighters on there. I think
Yes,
more Ohio than
I
Kentucky
know.
fighters. So
Yes, yeah, I
we
am
need to.
ready for them to come to Ohio.
Yeah, we need to put in a good word. I know they do a lot of like casino shows and things like that, but
Yes,
we've got plenty of venues. The venue that you're fighting
there
at,
is.
Hobart
Yeah,
Arena, would
it'd
be
be
an awesome.
perfect.
And speaking of that, you're fighting at Hobart, which is a really big venue and a cool
Yeah.
venue. What I guess that just gives you the opportunity to sell more and more tickets, right? Like that, you guys
Yes.
are probably gonna have that place packed. But what's it
Yes.
like fighting at a big venue, in your hometown?
Uh, Goodness, lots of emotions. Like I expected if I was gonna fight here in my hometown, it was just gonna be a little rinky dink, like closet. And getting to fight at Hobart Arena, it's just literally it's a dream come true. It's the closest thing to a bigger show that I'm gonna get to be able to do it here in my hometown, and it just means everything to me.
Yeah, it looks like it's gonna be a fantastic fight card. The last show that was kind of up in that area in March, I was on vacation. I'm gonna be
Mhm.
on vacation for this one too, so I'm
No.
unfortunately not gonna be able to make it. But it looks like it's gonna be a really good card.
Yeah.
I'm excited, and that one it's like not too far. It's only like an hour from me. I'm like, oh darn it, that would have
Oh,
been a nice one to go to.
dang. Well,
Um,
where are you going on vacation to?
I'll be in Florida,
Okay, so
so
that's
yeah,
gonna be nice.
yeah, it'll be warm at least. At least I'll be on the beach,
Yes.
which will be
Yes,
nice.
exactly. Yeah. I need a beach
uh,
vacation after this.
Yeah, and so we talked about multiple women's fights on the card, but you've also got multiple teammates on the card as well. Talk about. I
Yes.
know we've talked a lot about the gym, and I know you guys moved the gym. I think it was
Mhm.
last year, if I remember correctly. You
Uh,
moved or this year
we
maybe.
Yeah, it was this year. March. We moved in like March 4th. It's been crazy. We are still, I feel like we're still not settled in there because it was move in, have a boxing show, have my LFA fight, then another boxing show, and now we're all in fight camp for this fight show. So it's been uh we're home, but things just have to get settled after this
Yeah.
fight show. We're like, we need to relax a little bit.
Yeah, but you also, I mean, you mentioned, multiple fighters. You've got, not just you, but you've
Yeah.
got, I don't know if Connor is fighting, but you've got Colton Hensley, Kyle
Yes.
Barga, Quentin Shear, Jack Chappie. You've got a lot of teammates on the
Yes.
card. And what's it like, not just being, just yourself, but also multiple teammates and multiple, fighters that you coach.
It's awesome. Get it all being in fight camp together. Like that has been because everyone, like we're all fighting on the same exact night. When I fought Eleni Pereira, um, I fought, and then the day after that, we had the show in Troy, that all the teammates fought on. But it still wasn't as connected as what I feel like we've bonded a lot during this fight camp as a team, because like I still had to travel and I had to leave, and I didn't get to fight with my people, now I get to fight, and I'm main event, so I get to put the cherry on top, and it's going to be, I know all my teammates are just going to be, screaming from the rooftops, having a blast. And it should be an amazing night. Like it's, as far as fight camp wise, I couldn't ask for anything better with all of us being able to do it together. The competing together side might be a little bit, there might be some emotions. I told him, I was like, hey guys, do not take offense, but like I'm locking myself away and I ain't coming out. I don't want to
Yeah.
know who wins. I don't want to know who loses until after I get my job done. So,
Yeah.
yeah, no love lost there, but it's just what I have to do, to focus in, because I love all those guys. They're my family, and to know if one of them loses, what's that going to do to my mental? So I'm like, I can't know, guys. Just leave me be. No, I'm in there with you, and I love you guys, but I just can't know.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things about local MMA is not only do you see like the gyms, a lot of times the home gyms, you'll see tons of people coming out. You got the
Yeah.
train and like that, but then I've seen a lot of times fighters that are maybe in the main event, they're cornering their fighters that are earlier on in the card. And I'm like, man, that's got to be tough
No.
because you want to be like in your own headspace, right? And I've seen it
Yeah.
a lot more times than I would. Sometimes it's probably done out of necessity, but
Right.
that's I always
Mm,
think is really interesting and
yeah.
because you could either be in a really good spot or a really bad
Mhm,
spot, or like
mhm.
it could be there could be
Yeah, no,
a
I
lot of different
couldn't do it.
factors.
I'm too like I feel like almost like those are my kids in there, Not I mean most of them were closer in age, so I can't be their mom, but like I love them, like I don't want to know. So I definitely could not be in their corner and then go compete myself.
Yeah. But yeah, so June 15th, Ego Fight Series 3, Chelsea Tiny Tank Connor returns to the cage. I always yeah, I feel like every time I look at your social media, there's a new sponsor. So I know you have a ton of sponsors,
Yes.
a ton of people to mention, shout out. Like you have a ton of support, which is very obvious. That how much you have just from what you share. But I know also I'll give you the opportunity. Any shout outs or anything you want to mention?
Yeah, yeah. So obviously my Smile Back Training Center where I train at, Endless Ink Tattooing, Thrax. I have Buckeye Air Compressor. I just got Grapple or Die, which is they're like a clothing brand. It's amazing. I'm super pumped up about that one. Um, who else do I have? I have Saucy Sal's, Shore Chiropractic and Shore Wrestling. Um, Standout Serpents. Holy smokes, I should have wrote everything down. McFit. I think that's the majority of them. I apologize if I missed any.
Yeah. If
But
not,
yeah,
your
there's quite a
Instagram.
few.
Yeah, Chelsea
Yes.
Connor MMA. Like I said, I was scrolling through and I'm like, wow, that's a lot of sponsors. So
Yes. I
go
have a
check out
lot
all
of
the
love.
sponsors. One other thing I wanted to ask you, I know you've been training with and I forget her name, I didn't write it down, but you've been training with some women's wrestlers and the
Yes.
I know you're obviously involved in the MMA and martial arts side of it, but what do you think about the growth of women's wrestling in Ohio and then also the surrounding areas?
Yeah, so Olivia Shore.
Yes,
I've
yeah.
I've been running with her. She actually came this morning and ran with me. I'm like tapering in on this weight cut, so I'm like I gotta run in my sauna suit, and she's coming running with me and sitting in the sauna with me. So yeah, Olivia is really her and her family, which is the Shore Wrestling that I always talk about. They were kind of like the staple of like getting female wrestling here in Ohio. So I've been training with them for probably about 7 years now. So I've really gotten to see all the dedication and hard work that they've put into building this girls wrestling here in Ohio. So it's been so incredible watching it grow. It's one of those things working with someone at Olivia's level. I've worked with a lot of the very elite girls, and there's girls that just want to wrestle and have fun with it. And I've never, like, if I'm being honest, I never really cared too much about those girls because I was up here with these girls. And then I went to my first all girls tournament, and all those girls, I was just like, oh my God, I had tears in my eyes. It was incredible watching all these girls in there just wrestling. Like they didn't want to be the best. They didn't care about being the best. They just wanted to get on the mats and do it. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So my mindset over the years has really changed on the girls wrestling, because I know, like, I was in all boys rooms before I was at the Shores. I was at Mike Dehart's room, and it was all boys that did not want me there. They kicked my ass every time I showed up. It was a tough, tough room. And so I was like, maybe this ain't a girl's sport. Like, girls probably shouldn't do this. And I was a grown woman at that time. I think I was like 24, 23. And I'm like, ew, yeah, I don't know. As a teenage girl, I don't think I could do that shit. So, it's been experiencing that and then seeing how the shores have ran their stuff, it's been absolutely incredible. And it's like I said, it just moves my heart in ways that like I can't really explain. It's so cool.
Yeah, I feel like women's sports in general are we're definitely seeing like the growth and the continued evolution with basketball, and then I
Yeah.
was loving the Olympics. There's so many sports like the women are just as good as the men, which
Yeah.
the Summer Olympics in a couple of weeks. So, but it is awesome to see the growth of wrestling. Ohio being such a big wrestling state, and then
Yeah.
wrestling, women's wrestling finally continuing to grow here in Ohio. But yeah, so June 15th, Chelsea Connor, the main event at Ego Fight Series 3. Thank you so much for joining me, Chelsea. I know that I don't haven't seen the streaming information, but if you can't get out to Hobart Arena and Troy, there will definitely be a stream, I'm sure. But
Yes.
and we'll post all about that on Ohio MMA News. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me,
Yeah.
Chelsea.
Thank you. Have a
All
great
right,
day.
we'll be back next week with another episode.